Hey, Taco Tuesday fans, this is Christian Brindle.
And I am Glenn Shelton.
We came together and combined our forces to create something special for insurance agents called Taco Tuesday. Let's taco about insurance. My company, Christian Brindle Insurance Services,
and my company, Lead Heroes,
is here to bring you the latest and greatest news happening in the insurance industry today and eat some tacos while we do it.
If you enjoy the content that we put out on this podcast, feel free to leave us a review or subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes.
Without further ado, let's get into this episode of Taco Tuesday. All right. Welcome, everybody.
To Taco Tuesday. We have
we were in the show already. We've been talking for 2 minutes.
We are. We're officially live. We have a very special guest today, you guys, here on Taco Tuesday. And one of the first questions I did want to ask you, Matt, and this is something I see come up over and over, is Tex-Mex, like, is that a real thing?
I was just about to ask you, are we just skipping the normal taco bullshit? Or are we just getting right into the question?
No. We have to start with the taco bullshit. That's what this is all about. So tell me about Tex-Mex. Is that real? Is Mexican food in Texas honestly that much better?
Well, I think you have, it is. Because we're right next to the border. I mean, I grew up literally 30 minutes from Mexico. And so the closer you are to the border, you have more Mexicans that know true Mexican food, right? The further up north you got less and less people that have traveled up north, right? So, I believe, this camera's going to make everybody dizzy. We got the best food, the best Mexican food, bar none. You start getting up to Dallas, it starts getting worse. You get up to Oklahoma, forget about it. There is no Mexican food in Oklahoma.
They don't have any. The closest thing they got is Taco Bell.
That's right. They think that's Mexican food.
Yeah. See, I thought that was Mexican food until we started doing Taco Tuesday. I was like, Mexican food? Yeah. And I show up at Taco Tuesday every week. And I show up at Taco Bell every week to Taco Tuesday. And I get roasted, and I brought something special for you gents today because I knew having Matt on is a special occasion. I needed a long time Taco Tuesday tradition, which is it's been a point of debate and conversation since this show started. But that is the infamous rolled tacos.
Rolled tacos. Those are so good.
And everybody says are really taquitos, but at the restaurant we buy them at, they're called rolled tacos on the menu. So I just being respectful.
It is. You must be in Utah or something to get rolled tacos. We don't have those around here in Texas. And Glenn's even worse. I mean, he's in Oregon. What do you have, Glenn? This is going to get real interesting now.
Unfortunately, now that Matt's put a spotlight on me, I don't have tacos today, but I do want to comment on the Tex-Mex because I grew up in Arizona. So again, Arizona, right there, right next to the border. And I took it for granted my entire life. I until I left Arizona and went to Oregon, where I am now. And then I realized what Matt said was exactly 100% accurate. The further you get from the border, the less real Mexican food exists around you. There's some good spots up here, but it's not anything.
Listen, Glenn, you probably have better crepes. Right? I'll beat us in the crepe department. You're next to Canada. I mean, crepes, it's kind of like we don't have good crepes around here.
I don't want to offend anybody that's in the audience. But we've had real conversations on this show before about what is the true definition of a taco. Isn't it just something rolled into something else? So isn't a crepe a type of taco, breakfast taco?
That's exactly right. Every culture has its own taco, right? They just call it something different and they stuff it with different things. There's no difference.
It's true.
Right? I mean, you look at the egg roll, right? It's just a taco. It's just what you're eating, Christian.
Yeah.
Guys, that's just the start of the sort of mind-blowing opinions you're going to get from Matt today. I never looked at an egg roll like a taco, and now
It's a Chinese taco.
Chinese
Yeah.
taco.
It really
No.
It really is.
What did we call the crepes? Because I did show up one day with
Yeah, you
crepes.
did. I think you were
And
trying to
I called
pass it
them
off as a
breakfast
breakfast. Yeah, you were trying to pass it off as a breakfast taco, which is one of my personal favorite tacos. Tacos with eggs and bacon. That's divine. We do have some comments here, you guys. By the way, feel free to comment below as we're streaming today. We'd love to kind of interact with you guys. You guys are super white. Yes. Can't speak for Matt, but me and Christian. Something Matt said before the show that I thought was hilarious. Since Christian and I are like slowly morphing into one face, he was talking about how when you get a dog and sometimes you start to look more like your dog. And if you notice, I'm going bald and Christian's trying to grow facial hair. And so it's this weird.
Yeah, they were fighting about who's the dog.
But it depends on what kind of dog, right? Like, is it a lab? Is it a yeah? Is it like, is it a koala dog? Like, what kind of dog are we talking about? And so, if it's a majestic dog, I'll be the dog. I'll take on that role.
You are a majestic dog, Christian. I will give it to you. I want to jump into, the insurance side of the conversation. Now that we've gotten the taco part of this out of the way, we have a special guest today, Matt Mungia. Matt, I've been friends with, done business with for years and years and years. Matt, do you want to take a second and just kind of introduce yourself for those who might not know you?
Yeah, I mean, you're the only one in my 16-year insurance career that's said my name perfectly. So hats off to you. I have people that have known me for 16 years in this business still can't say my last name. So hats off.
Meet my friend Matt Mungia.
Yeah. Oh, man, I mean, I've heard it all.
Mungia. It's Mungia.
And the easiest thing for me to do at this point is no matter how bad they butcher it, say, "Yep, you got it," and we just keep rolling. There's no point because they'll get it wrong the next time anyway. But just brief synopsis. Been in the business for 16 years. Started at New York Life. Was there for almost 3 years, and just navigated my way into mortgage protection. At that point, did that for 5 or 6 years. Then morphed into final expense. Did that for 5 or 6 years. Then added Medicare and been doing that for over 2 years now. Now, when I said I did Medicare, that's I never had the training when I was coming up. So I didn't personally do much Medicare. I did some, right? And I think that's what got me so excited about the Medicare side of the business. I was like, wow, there's so much opportunity in that Medicare side. What if we actually had a system in place that could teach people like me how to sell Medicare properly? And so we started that. Of course, I am smart enough to recognize I'm not that smart. And so I hired people much better and smarter than me to help us on the Medicare front. And it's just been fun since,
Yeah, I think, again, I know Matt and I have talked before about many different things. And one of the things we've talked a lot about is final expense and just kind of the sort of premium that he's been able to write on his own pen. But I think the overlap between, for those of you who are watching or listening to this, if you sell final expense and maybe you know nothing about Medicare, which I know there's a lot of final expense agents out there who fall into this category. I think what you'd be shocked to realize is 99%, as long as they're, over 64 and a half, they are in the Medicare space, right? So you're already life and health licensed, most likely, unless you're one of those weirdos out there and you only got your health or you only got your life license, right? So most likely,
I started with health, got life in year 2.
No, Christian.
Well, Christian, my guess is that wherever you started, that's where they told you, go get your health license, maybe, right? I mean, that's why we find a lot of life only agents is because they started with a company and they said, only just get life. Right. So
So I started working because my story is my dad was a Medicare agent since the 90s, the early 90s. And so I started working in his office when I started, and I was one of his downline agents. And I took and when I started studying for my licensing exam, I was 19, and knucklehead. I didn't know what a premium was when I started studying. Like, it was bad, and so I was having trouble studying, having trouble with the test. I failed it the first couple of times, and he told me, he's like, let's break it down and let's start with the health. So that was the main reason for it. I
So
was
you just
not
failed yourself into the health. Well, listen, now that we're being honest about how many times you failed it, I failed the life and health test 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
No joke. No joke.
Oh no.
So I only admitted that because you admitted you failed. So thank you for that.
I have no shame.
I didn't fail. I just want to go on the record here. I'm the smartest of the panel today. I never failed my life and health exam. Thank you. C or better. Thank you. No, but the point I was trying to make there, you guys, is if you are a final expense agent and you are life and health licensed, which I think most people are, you're missing out on this opportunity. And I think, I kind of had that experience myself as a life agent. I was only selling life, and I can't tell you how many times I'd be talking about insurance and a senior would go get their policy and they'd hand it to me, and I'm looking at it and I'm like, this is your Transamerica Medicare supplement policy. RIP, Transamerica's MedSup. I don't even think it exists anymore. But I just remember, getting to that point where I'm like, I'm being handed these health policies and I'm already in the house. I already paid for the lead, already paid for the marketing. Like, why would I not be talking about this with this prospect? So, I'm curious to know, from a cross-selling perspective, how have you guys at 360 kind of incorporated that?
Yeah, that's how it all started, right? We were final expense mainly only at that point. And I think the adoption of Medicare was just like, I didn't, it was me that was out there selling it, right? And I was trying to figure it out by myself. I didn't have the training support at that time. And so, that's when we said, hey, I'm in front of these people all the time, right? And so I think about also the year that I had a big breakout season on the final expense side, where in 1 year I wrote like over 700 apps that 1 year. And I think about like, Christian, imagine if I could snap my finger, right, and take those 700 apps and turn them into Medicare applications instead. I would have woken up with over a couple $100,000, whether I worked that next year or not, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's a powerful part. I was like, and so anyway, that's how we got started, was with final expense. We're already in front of these guys. We're already doing this. We're already helping these people. And do you do health insurance? Yes. The questions would come up like, no, we don't. Do you Medicare? No, we don't. And so eventually we said, hey, let's put something good together that's gonna, help our, people, add that to their arsenal. And so that's how it all kind of came about and evolved. And then, at that time, that's when, we brought on people much better and smarter than me to assist with that and get everybody in motion. Gotcha. There's some questions. I don't know how you want to run it, Glenn. There's questions in there, I think, for you.
There's some great questions I'm seeing on the side here. I had 2 questions I wanted to run by you, Matt, myself, and then I'd say let's jump into some of these questions, because I'm seeing some great ones. I don't want any of them to get lost through the episode. There's so much we can talk about. We could be on here for like 3 hours. So
3 hours.
We'll try to.
Said it. Not
I
me.
thought Glenn said he was going to go watch his Oregon Ducks play tonight and get whooped again. Last time they got beat by 40 points, Glenn.
It's kind of a tradition for me to go to a sporting event and watch my team get blown out. It's my good luck charm.
So here's my question for you, Matt. So I the last couple of years we've been recruiting, agents on the Medicare side. For my entire career before that, I was a single producer. with, some staff to kind of help me out with things, to service my book. And then we started working with more agents. I work with a ton of agents that start off in the final expense side and they transition maybe into the Medicare side, right? And they add it to either what they're doing, or maybe they even push their focus into the Medicare front. As somebody that's done it as effectively as you have, right? And made that transition. There's a lot of agents that struggle to make that transition going into the Medicare side. What do you think is a key component to making that adjustment in your approach of either adding Medicare to what you're doing, or maybe even shifting your focus to where it's more of a primary focus for you?
I think the reason we got off to a really good start was it's a lot easier to be a final expense agent and start selling Medicare than the other way around. It's super hard. We have found less success, I'll say, from grabbing a Medicare agent and trying to teach them final expense. Well, why, Matt? Why is that? Well, I think it's because Medicare, you're not really selling anything. Most of these are, at no cost, right? And so they're not used to selling premium. They're not used to too many objections. They're giving this stuff. All they're saying is, look, Mrs. Jones, I'm like Santa Claus right now. I can give you free dental of $4,000. I can give you this, and I can give you that, and I can give you. Right? Now go, talk about life insurance and ask them that you want $100 premium a month. And it's like, whoa, that's hard. I can't do that. Whereas final expense, you're having to overcome objections, right? You're having to ask for premium. You're getting through. That's a tough sell. Not many people want to talk life insurance. They don't want to bring out that policy like they'll bring out that red, white, and blue card much easier, right? So when you can get a final expense agent that has had they've had to actually know how to sell. Now, when they offer something free, it's so easy for them typically, right? And so I think that's what the transition was, why it was so much easier, because we had final expense agents that were really good at what they do. Hey, now you give them this, this no cost benefits, a laundry list of benefits. Well, now that's so easy for them to sell. And then so I think that was why we got off to a quick start, to answer your question of the transition, why it was pretty seamless.
That makes a lot of sense. I think that someone who's, kind of become a friend the last couple of years for me is like Nick Frumpkin, right? And he's done very well at essentially using final expense clients, like to build a, clientele of final expense clients and then cross-sell them Medicare, essentially his approach. And I think he's kind of developed like a little bit of a niche to where like he takes on agents and that's their focus. I've always thought that was a really smart way to do it, to kind of piggyback on what you said, because I think it's like you said, it's not selling, it's more order taking, right? When you're selling a $0 premium plan, you don't need a checking account. You don't need an account number, a routing number, a credit card, anything like that. You just need their consent.
Yeah.
So it's a big difference, different mentality.
Yep. And I know Nick's a sharp guy. In fact, I'll be seeing him in Portugal. So Nick, if you're listening, we'll see you soon, buddy. But yeah, for most of these guys, like that's the big reason why, because final expense is a tough sell. It is a tough sell. And so you add the Medicare component and it's just that much easier.
It does seem like failed life sales agents do really well on the health side. I know a couple people personally that really struggle to sell life insurance consistently, but then when they got involved on the health side, like Medicare, it was much, much easier for them. So I think it is, just kind of piggyback on what Matt just said there. I think it's just a much easier sale. There's a barrier, right? When you're trying to talk to a prospect about something that you're trying to get them to pay for versus something they already have. Even if you were going to end up selling them something like, a dental vision hearing plan or a hospital indemnity plan, or maybe you're trying to pitch, cancer insurance or short-term care, long-term care. So maybe you're not even you're not even going after that health but it's just an easier conversation to have versus on the life side, right? It's like, hey, you're going to die. Hey, you don't know me. I'm here to talk about you dying. We're going to talk about the cost of your death. We're going to talk about, how your family is going to handle this. Oh, and by the way, this is coming out of your checkbook every single month. So yeah, it's just a significantly harder sale for sure. And that was kind of my same experience too as an agent when I started talking about Medicare with clients. Just so much easier to have that conversation. And in the marketing, it's the same way too, you guys. On the marketing side of it, it's a much easier conversation to market when you're talking about, hey, you already have Medicare. We want to make sure you're not overpaying. We want to make sure that you're not being overcharged versus, hey, we want to sell you something. So I totally agree. Let's jump into a question here. So one of the first questions.
Christian,
yeah.
Glenn, you're breaking up big time for me. So is it my camera is it me, or were you able to hear all that, Christian?
It came through clearly for me.
Okay.
Glenn, is everything coming through clearly?
Matt, that Tex-Mex just
I got Christian perfect.
So I guess me and Matt should just have a conversation, and Glenn,
I'll just leave. I guess I felt like the third wheel today.
We're good.
So it's fine, you guys.
I got you now, Glenn. I got you now.
Someone said Glenn looks
beautiful.
I wish I could see who's saying these.
Hello, thank you.
That's my man.
I don't know who that is, but you're beautiful as well. I don't.
That is my boyfriend. Okay, so no, you can looky, but no touchy.
You have a lot of boyfriends, so that doesn't really narrow the gap for me. The first question here that I want to jump into is, what carriers are your go-to for final expense, Matt?
For final expense, we like Foresters, Trinity, Royal Neighbors. I would say that's our top three. Mutual of Omaha is another good one that we like. I would say that's our top four carriers that we run with.
How about selling over the phone versus face to face? Do you have a different carrier you like?
Yeah, the phone guys and girls, Liberty Bankers, Prosperity. I know a couple of their go-to carriers for that.
And so those other carriers, that'd be more face-to-face sale. Are you guys? What do you think? Did Americo just kind of fall off the map with final expense?
Christian, if you don't mind asking that question, I have no idea what he said.
So he was asking about Americo. He said, did Americo fall off the face of the earth?
For us, it did. We have them, but they're in the trunk,
Yeah, I think, like for us, we don't do nearly as much final expense as we do Medicare. Like we're probably like 95% Medicare, but we do trip into some final expense business from time to time. And, we and at least for me, like the ones that I've liked writing the most, the ones I've enjoyed has been probably Foresters, Mutual of Omaha. I enjoyed the Ascendo when it first came out, the Ascendo product last year.
They can never get the billing right on that. Ascendo was one of the big issues. Yeah,
we ran into that too. Let's see. Okay, so
it's one thing to write it. It's another thing when it, you got to get it issued and paid. And I think that's a big thing on the final expense side. You want to be writing those carriers that are, that have their stuff in order. They're efficient, they're quick, they can get billing right. I was talking to this. I was in a Zoom earlier this morning, our Medicare Zoom. I was talking about efficiency and be the Chick-fil-A. If you're going to be a fast food joint, be Chick-fil-A. They're efficient. They get things right all the time. And there could be a 2 mile long line, and you're done quicker than Burger King. You only have 2 cars in front of you at Burger King, and you're 10 cars deep over here, and you're through the line quicker. And anyway, so you want to have the carriers that are going to issue your stuff and be timely and answer your phone call.
Accommodation. Yeah, And Chick-fil-A says "my pleasure," not "no problem." I don't know if you guys ever noticed that, but they're very nice about that. I notice things like that. I'm an oddball, I guess. Like,
oh my gosh,
Didn't Chick-fil-A started in your backyard, right? In a Utah company?
I don't even know where they started, but I know they've been here a long time. They probably did, for all I know.
So. Maybe I'm wrong.
But
you eating my chicken is my pleasure. Thank you so much. Matt, I don't know if you can hear me. So Christian, you might have to relay this, but I'm curious about Social Security billing. Is there a carrier that Matt would recommend for Social Security billing? And maybe Matt could talk a little bit about how that works.
Did you catch that, Matt?
Yeah, I did catch
that.
Good. We're
making progress.
Social Security billing, again, that's one of the big reasons we like Trinity early on. You know, Trinity is not in all states, and so I know some people don't even know who Trinity is, but they're in a lot of states. But I would say Trinity does it just as good as anybody out there, or better. Chick-fil-A was started in Georgia. Okay, I was many states off. Okay,
Joanna's hood.
Oh yeah, I have no idea. But yeah, Trinity is good. I mean, there's several good companies now.
But it's coming directly out of their Social Security check, right?
That part I don't know the exact answer to, but I know it coincides with it. That I do know. So when Social Security deposits, they take it out at the right time. And so you don't have to worry about, the whole, okay, what if the third falls on a Saturday or Sunday?
Right.
And now Monday rolls around, there's no money in that account.
Right.
Boom, that thing's a for sure lapse. Yep. So, there are certain companies that are good. Trinity was always our favorite for that. They were one of the first ones to adopt true Social Security billing.
What about one quick question I'll have, and then I'll let my puppy dog take over. What about direct billing? Are you still writing, or I don't even remember, maybe you never were writing direct billing, credit card business?
No, well, credit card business, I would. Here is always my thought process on that. I try to always write as many policies as possible. I know some people, Glenn, JD, Easy, and all them, they wouldn't want to write guaranteed issue even. To me, I was all about getting as many clients on the books as possible.
Right.
And so what if it falls off? Doesn't matter to me. If I get a chargeback, doesn't matter. I have enough business to clear it anyway. So I'm not worried. I was never worried about that kind of stuff. Right. So I was, hey, let's put this on the books. And guess what? If they pay it for 4 months, well, then I'm still going to get 4 months worth of money that I actually earned. Right. And the way the direct billing was, at least back in the day, was that you only got paid as earned anyway.
Right.
So why not? Why not write it all?
Why
not write guaranteed? I never understood not writing guaranteed issue business. Like I still get checks from my guaranteed issue business. I haven't been in the field in years.
Maybe I'm misremembering this, but I thought I remember you previously saying, like, if you were uncertain about someone going to pay for their policy or not, you would just write a smaller policy. Is that right?
Yeah, I wrote a lot of, tons of $30, especially early on in my final expense days, $40. Some people are like, I would never write $40. My minimum, I start at $60. Okay, that's you. I'm not saying it's bad. It's just not what I would do. It's not what I did. I was already spent the money to get in front of you. I spent the lead. I drove over there.
Right.
And I'm going to try to get something, and it's going to help you out anyway. You're going to die, right? Everybody's going to die. So they need it, right? Am I wrong? You're going to die.
No.
And you know what? With COVID hit, I paid more death claims in my entire career. And I guarantee all those people were glad they had something, or their families were glad they had something,
Yep.
Yeah. 100%. someone had an interesting question on the comments here, Matt. They asked if, are you guys doing ACA business?
We are. Our main Medicare trainer always wins that top award. I forget what it's called. He's always posting it, whatever it is. Anyway, so we were lucky enough that he was already with us, and we're like, hey, you know what? We're doing the over 65 stuff. Why don't we start doing the under 65 stuff? And then guess what? That under 65 stuff will roll right into our over 65 business. Mm-hmm. So, we already had everything in place. So now, yes, to answer your question, we're doing the ACA stuff, and that'll feed into our all roads. I got this from a buddy of mine. All roads lead to Medicare, right?
Yep.
So
100%. At some point, it's interesting because I didn't do any under 65 stuff for, probably my first 6 years in the industry. And, I had this conception that I think a lot of agents have, and I'm not trying to turn it into an ACA or under 65 conversation, but I think it's just interesting to think about. The final year I didn't do under 65. There was an agency that had their Medicare contracts with us downtown Salt Lake City, and we would send them our ACA because that was mainly their specialty. Medicare was more of a side focus. And that year, I think I sent them 100 referrals that year and that they wrote. And just from people that were referred to me, from clients, spouses, everything. And and I was like,
shame.
And I tallied it, and I looked at it after AEP that one year at the end of the year, and I was like, this is a problem. We're gonna figure this out. And how many people are turning 65, spouse is 63 or 62, or something along those lines. And so, yeah, I think it's a great point.
You look back at all those missed opportunities. All those turning 65s you would have gotten, right? You can compliantly reach out to them. They're your clients, existing book of business. Boom, 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 boom. I saw a private message. I guess somebody's listening in, but they're not. They were like, what are some more true Social Security billing companies? So Aetna, like you had talked about, the Ascendo product, Trinity, Royal Neighbors. Royal Neighbors does it only on their e-app. Prosperity, Transamerica, American Amicable, GTL, Liberty Bankers, America. So a lot of the companies do it now. I don't know how well they do it, but many people do it now. So anyway, sorry about that. Get off tangent, guys.
No, that's awesome. That is great.
I can have a random question for you, Matt. Have you seen, because of COVID and obviously increased death rate among seniors? And I remember at the start of this actually texting you privately and being like, dude, what do you think is going to happen here? But I'm curious to know, are carriers having to offset their costs by raising premiums? Are you seeing that with any carriers?
I don't know. And I don't know if any of them will come out and say, this is why we're raising premiums. You know how the carriers do it. They just raise the premiums. Right. Now they're in board meetings, behind the scenes, probably number crunching, right, with their actuaries and being like, listen, we just paid this amount. We need to raise premiums or change the application, or something's got to give, right? Because the insurance companies are in the business of making money. So, that I don't know per se, but I would assume, I mean, like I said, I've been at this for 16 years. I had more in the past year and a half, I'd say, or whatever, 2 years, more death claims than ever before. It's crazy. I have thousands of clients on the books. I literally get, I would say on average, 2 to 3 a week death claims.
Wow.
Even now.
Crazy.
Yeah.
It is nuts. It is. It's crazy.
What's your take on annuities? Somebody in the comments asked about if you guys were doing annuities, or I'm not going to talk about us. I think I've talked enough about me over the course of this show.
Do you like annuities? What do you do annuities?
No, I'm indifferent. I don't feel one way. I'm not against annuities. We just don't do them. It's not because we don't.
Yeah. We're the same way. We feel like, can we do them? Yes. Have we done them? Yes. Have I done them? When I was in the field? Yes. It's not something we've ever concentrated on. I feel like I feel like we're good at doing one thing at a time. And then once we get this going real good, then we can concentrate on something else. And annuities just hasn't been ever a focus. But I see, companies putting their leaderboards together, and they add life and annuities together. So you see these crazy big numbers, and a lot of it's annuity production, So I know it's pretty good. We just don't really focus on that per se.
Yeah, same with us. I mean, I talked to someone about it who's a big time annuity producer in the summer. And, I told him, I was like, it's not that we have a problem with it or we don't want to sell them or anything like that. It's more so that just, the Medicare stuff, because that's our main focus. The Medicare stuff is, it keeps me busy up to my eyeballs as is. I can't imagine trying to incorporate that as well. Maybe down the road, when we've grown a little bit, we have even, more infrastructure than we have now. It's just 24 hours in a day,
Yeah, I mean, I'm a huge fan, and I know some Medicare agents, and again, like Christian mentioned, we've talked about this before on the show. We have a few episodes dedicated to financial products previously, but I'm a huge believer in and also to kind of take this back to what Matt said, like get that policy on the books, because once they're your client, even if that policy were to lapse, now you have an excuse to talk to someone. Hey, Mrs. Jones, you got that policy from me last year. We still do that, but we also do this, this, and this. And I'd really like to come talk to you about this. I'm going to be down the street from you tomorrow anyways. And I think on the annuity side or the financial products investment side, being able to come back to your book of business down the road and be like, hey, you've had your policy with me for 4 or 5 years now. Are you happy? Oh, you are? Great. Well, since you trusted me with your health insurance or your life insurance, you should definitely talk to me about managing your money with this annuity, or with this other investment scheme. And it seems like 9 times out of 10, people are happy to do business with you when you can kind of back into it like that.
It would be nice to have, also about building your book, because you don't know. If you would have told us that we'd be doing Medicare, if you would have told us 3 years ago, Matt, y'all be doing Medicare, I'd be like, you're crazy. No, we're not. Like we're like laser focused right now on final expense and trying to nail that down. Right. So, but you have a large book of business. Now you do start doing annuities, or now you do start doing Medicare. Now you do start doing this or that. You're not, there's going to be things that you don't think you're going to be doing, but you'll be better prepared if you have a large book of business to be able to tap into, and for med sub people, annuities is, I would imagine, a great addition.
Yeah, I could totally see that. So question, Matt, where do you feel like the future is going for people that are going to be, independent agency builders, right? And I mean, not even necessarily individual agents, but people that are trying to build agencies. I saw, I've heard, several people actually in the industry lately say that kind of we're seeing more of hybrid models that will probably become more of the norm. Hybrid models, meaning like they have aspects of a call center, but they're not a call center, right? They have aspects of a brick and mortar shop, but they're not a brick and mortar shop. Where do you see the future going for independent agencies? Like what do you think? What do you see for the next?
Well, I think COVID kind of changed the game on a lot of people, including the companies and the carriers, where they had to lax on a lot of the rules about, calling and stuff like that. So, I mean, there's a lot of opportunity to, for an agent to start building their own shop, and whether they build their shop with LOA agents and do a brick and mortar. I mean, whether they go, as an agency model with a GA and MGA levels. I mean, I think it's really dependent on that particular agent and what they're willing to take on, because, I think people sometimes forget they think it's going to be easy a lot of times. And hey, they have this grand idea. I want to do this because this is what's going to make me more money. And this is the easy route. And I'm going to be filthy rich. And no, I mean, it doesn't quite work like that.
You're not rich like me. What?
And you'd be surprised of how many people think like that, though. It's mind blowing.
Yeah. A lot of people think they get their license, right? And that's it. They're done, right? Like that's
they have this viewpoint that as soon as they get their license, they print it off, right? It's approved. They get the email, it prints off, and then the heavens open up and piles of money fall onto them.
Yeah, my wife just got her license, and I said, well, now what? What happens now? Are you going to be rich now?
Yeah, mazel tov.
And she goes, well, where do I start? What do I do now? I said, I don't know. You're the licensed agent. You tell me what you're going to do. Well, I slept outside for a few days after that.
I'm not contracting you. Go find an upline.
Yeah, find somebody who knows how to train you. I'm tired.
I don't have time for that.
You know how much work it is to train a new agent, honey?
Jeez.
Well, get out of here.
For me, she knows just being around me. It's a lot of work. But no, I mean, I think there's tons of potential. It's just dependent on what that particular agent wants. I mean, I tell everybody, tell me what your vision is. You tell me if in your perfect world, right? Now, we understand you don't know anything about anything right now, but you tell me what you envision things to look like. And then from there, I say, okay, well, I don't know if having a single agent is for you, because, you want to start building a team. You better be there for them. Forget about dinners with the family. A lot of times, working 24/7 weekends, you're on call like a doctor. I mean, at least that's the way I operate. And I think if you're truly going to do this, that's the way you got to think. You can't just, punch a clock. I'm going to start working at 9 and I'm not taking any more calls at 5. I don't know. It doesn't work like that for me, at least. So I don't know. It's a big undertaking, but the opportunity, it can be very good if you put in the work and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know if that answers your question, but that's some of my thoughts on it.
Yeah, no, I think that's really good. And I agree with you. And I agree with you about how you handle your wife as well. No, just kidding.
92% nation is licking their lips right now to recruit both of your wives.
They're both licensed. They're both licensed.
Everyone wants to recruit.
Nobody could handle my wife's attitude for more than a day or two. So be my guest.
It's funny to hear you say that, Matt, about how you manage your team and how you make yourself available for agents, because I can't tell you how many times I talk to an agent and they don't know who their upline is, or they talk to their upline once. I had this one agent just like a week or two ago I was talking to, and I realized right away that she was brand new. And I'm like, okay, why did you buy leads from us? And why didn't you talk to your upline about where they buy leads? And she's like, well, I don't talk to my upline. I'm like, well, what? I'm like, well, I'm not your upline. I'm not going to train you. I don't get paid to train you. Like I have resources I can provide you, but it blows my mind to see how many uplines out there are like that. They just they're not even available. But this kind of transitions into something I wanted to
before you transition, because that's super important what you said. I mean, that's the reason I had such a tough time myself getting in the Medicare space many years ago. I wanted to, but I didn't even know who my upline was. They sure as hell weren't helping me. They didn't have any trainings. They didn't have any calls or Zooms. They weren't there to pick up my phone. I mean, it was in the Medicare space. You see that a lot more than in final expense. Final expense, there's a lot of good uplines. In the Medicare, now because of the competition now, I think that people are having to do that kind of stuff more. Whereas in the past, they could get away with, hey, here's your contract. Good luck. Go get them, Tiger. And I think that people are moving away from that. And then back onto your other question, Christian, about, what do things look like the landscape as far as building a team in this? Agents don't know what they don't know, right? And I think, especially in the Medicare space, it's a lot easier to do really good in the Medicare space. I mean, what do you need these days? You only need like 350 clients now, 350 clients with the new commissions to have a 6-figure renewal income. That's crazy good, in my opinion. 350 clients, you can get that in 1 year or less. But whatever. I mean, the point is that, in final expense, a lot of times, and if you want to make more and more and more, you needed to build a downline, right? In a lot of cases. In Medicare, you don't need that. You can go out there as an individual agent and get to 500 clients, whatever your number is. 1,000 clients on your books is what, 287,000 in residual income. Like 900 clients or so is like $250,000 or whatever it is, or close to $250,000. And then you don't have to be on call all the time. You're a one-man show. You can go on vacation and never have to pick up your phone or answer the text or all the other things that come up with building.
That sparks a question for you, Matt. I get people all the time, and as do you, I'm sure, that come into the industry and they'll start with maybe Medicare. That's the route they choose to take. They start with Medicare, and they will sell for 2 months, maybe 3 months, and they'll do well, right? They'll just kind of do pretty well right off the bat, right? They'll pick it up really quickly. They'll have a pretty good capacity to be able to learn on as they go, and they do well. 3 months in, you get a call, and they're like, "Hey, Matt, I want to start building a team." What do you usually say?
The kiss of death. I said, "No, you don't." I'd hang up the phone on them. No, you don't. No, you don't know what you don't know. You don't know what you don't know. You're doing so good. What are you thinking?
Yeah.
No. But, try to talk them out of it. 9 times out of 10, they don't want to hear it. They have their mind. Their mind is already made up, but they just don't know what it takes. And so what do you do? I mean, what do you do? I don't know. I mean, you can try to talk them out of it, but now they have that resentment towards you, and you try to talk me out of this, and da, da, da. I mean,
it opens a weird Pandora's box to where, like, because at the end of the day, they're independent, right? They run their own business. They have the ability to do whatever they want. You can give them your opinion, but then you fall into this weird game to where, like, if you maybe say, "I don't think this is a good idea," or you're negative about it, or whatever the case might be, John Smith, recruiter down the street's like, "Yeah, you want a GA contract? You want to start recruiting? Let's go. And I'm of this exact same opinion as you are. Like, I don't think it's good for them. I think that, like, I sold as an individual producer for 6 years before I ever contracted a single agent. Not saying that people have to do it necessarily that long, but
well, also, Christian, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's a different skill set too to be a manager.
100%.
I know unbelievable, and worked with throughout my years, unbelievable agents. I mean, could write and sell you anything from under the sun. Horrible managers, horrible with helping people, and horrible about picking up the phone. It's a different skill set altogether. So, I mean, and there's that too. So just because you're a good agent is not going to make you, I mean, you see it in professional sports all the time. There's great players. Now they try their hand at coaching. They're horrible coaches,
Yep. Michael Jordan, right? Michael Jordan wasn't the greatest coach.
What about Steve Nash?
Steve Nash has not been. Jason Kidd, he's on his like 5th team now, right, or something. I don't know how many teams he's coached for, but he hasn't necessarily
valid point, though.
He's coaching the Mavs right now, but I don't think they're playing all that well. Aren't they like 500?
Well, listen, they're beating up on my Spurs, but who isn't?
Yeah.
No kidding.
Well, they don't have any players.
Yeah.
So hang on, though. This is to get back to where I was trying to transition before. So, Matt, you've personally recruited and hired a ton of insurance agents. I mean, hundreds, maybe even thousands over your years of doing this, right? And what I'm curious to hear from you is when you take a brand new agent and you have 2 brand new agents, they're working similar areas, they're working similar leads. Why is it that one brand new agent can come in, crush it, lifelong career in insurance, they make really great money, maybe they're not even having to work a lot versus, agent 2 or B,
Right.
they come in, they can't figure it out. They're failing. They're falling on their face. They're out of the industry in 12 months. Why is there such a difference in that? Because I see it all the time on my end.
Yeah. I think it's the more you have working for you. So I always liken it to, why is Ray Lewis, right? Well, because he doesn't really have a weakness, right? Good work ethic, fast. He was strong. He knew the field well. He had everything it takes to play at the highest level, right? But Ray Lewis, if you just take one thing away, let's take away his speed, right? Take away just his speed. Everything else is the same, but let's take away his speed. Instead of a 4.640 yard dash, let's say he runs a 5 flat. Well, that one thing, all we did was take away his speed, and all of a sudden he's not at 5 running at 5 a flat. He might not even make the pros. And all we did was change one thing. The agents are no different, right? We're no different. If I could have all the greatest attributes in the world, I could be tall, dark, and handsome. If I don't want to work, it's not going to matter, right? All I did is change one thing, my work ethic, But if I have everything, if I have the drive and the work ethic and the skills, and I can relate to people well, and when I walk into a home, I make them feel like they've known me for a long time, or I've known them for a long time. All those little intangibles things. I have no weaknesses. That's what's going to make me good. And yes, I've seen it over the years, time and time again. You give 10 leads here, 10 leads there. Right. This guy says these leads are unbelievable. Wow, these are the things. I just sold 3,000 with these leads. They only give me 10. Can I get more? I want more.
Right.
Bring 10 leads to this guy. Does nothing with them. These leads suck. I want my money back. Right. Give me a release. I mean, the list goes on.
I was just talking to somebody before we came on earlier today about that exact thing. About how, no matter what kind of leads are out there, it could be lead hero leads, telemarketing leads. It could be direct mail leads. It could be Facebook leads. You'll have certain people that will crush it with them and, produce a high level of activity and production out of those leads. And then you'll have the same amount of agents, if not more, that will say they suck, no matter what they are, right? Like, you're going to have both camps. And I think it comes down to people's ability to sell, right? And be a salesperson, and to show people that they have that personality, right? The ability to essentially have a conversation with somebody is a real thing. And just because you got a lead doesn't necessarily mean you can avoid that part of the transaction that requires you to cut through some of the crap and cut through some of the weeds of having that conversation with people.
Right. And rejection's another one. Some people can't handle rejection really well. Some people just like, hey, on to the next. Let's move on. So yeah, there's a lot of different reasons why this agent A does better than agent B. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, so work ethic is a huge part of it, right? I've always felt like the person who works the hardest, who's willing to put in the most hours, typically that person will win the war of attrition against more talented agents who aren't working as hard, or they aren't working as many hours. So originally that was always kind of my thoughts on this whole scenario is, why is agent A succeeding and agent B is failing? Agent A must have just a significantly better work ethic. They can work independently. They're running appointments on Saturdays. They're working at night after their kids are in bed, yada, yada, yada. The list goes on. And it's a lot of intangible things, like you said. It's a lot of little things that they're doing right. But I wonder, is mindset even bigger than work ethic? Because when it comes to rejection, and when you look at it on like a lead conversion side of it, if you have 100 leads and you might only sell 15, that's 85 no's. That's almost all no's. That's almost everyone telling you to fuck off. And the reality, it's really hard. Guys, I can't tell you how many days when I had like a 10 appointment day and I'm feeling great in the morning. I I'm hitting the streets. I'm thinking I have 10 appointments. Something's going to drop. I'm coming home with 3 policies at least. I get to the 8th, 9th appointment, 10th appointment. I come home with nothing. You know how debilitating that is when you start thinking about all the money you spent, all the time you spent, and you come home with nothing. Like, that's what I feel like really separates the winners from the losers is the mindset on being able to watch that. I mean, going back to kind of the sports analogy that we've been using, you know, when you look at some of these professional athletes, like an NFL quarterback, they throw an interception and you think, man, they may have just blown the game right there. And then they're able to just literally get right back into the game. You know, they're not even thinking about that last drive. They're just playing the game. And I think that's just like this elite mindset.
I think the word I like to think of with that is grit.
Yeah. Determination.
Yeah. I think it's like, it's a great basketball player, right? Like, how many times did you watch a Kobe Bryant game when he was playing to where he would be having a horrible night, right? He would be like 5 for 20 or something like that. And then the last 2 or 3 minutes of the game, he'll hit 4 or 5 shots in a row. He'll hit he'll hit the final shot to put him ahead. Like, it's because he's already forgotten that he's missed 15 shots before that sequence.
Right.
Agents are the same way, you know, like agents need to be, and we've talked about it, Glenn, on this podcast so many times on the show, but like agents need to be able to get punched in the face and not let it have them turn around and
they need to be able to recover, right? And not let it affect that next appointment, you know, because it can bleed over into the next appointment.
Yeah.
Those desperate appointments when you're like, hey, no. Hang on. Let's talk. Let's just talk. Hang on.
Wait.
Don't say no. Don't say no.
You know, and it can really mess with your mind. I know I went on a streak there, like in my prime in final expense. I went on a streak where, and I proudly held that record for a long time, where I went on 12 like sit down appointments, right? Where I actually sat down and did a whole presentation, and 12 no's. I got 12 in a row no's. And I started second guessing everything after about the 6th or 7th. I'm like, am I wearing something wrong? Yeah. Am I saying this in the wrong order now? I mean, and this is the same year, I think that either right before I wrote a crazy amount or right after, but I knew what I was doing, you know, as far as like I was writing good amount of business, but for whatever crazy reason, I went on a spell of 12 sit downs, got murdered, got beat up, to where you start second guessing everything you've ever done. So yeah, I think that's what it is the professionals, you know, in anything, they get past it, they forget it, they're on to the next, and they get over things. Their mindset. I mean, that's why they're the pros, you know, they don't have weaknesses really.
We had Matt Temin on the show a little while back, and he was talking about how when he made his transition from final expense to Medicare, I don't remember the exact number, Glenn, you might remember, but I think he said that his first 25 appointments he struck out through Medicare, in a row.
It was a very large number, yeah.
Like in a row consecutively, 25 appointments for Medicare, and like now he's a badass with Medicare, right? Like he's on leaderboards, all that stuff. So like that's it right there. You know, how many agents, they go on 25 appointments, they get shut down every single time. They're like, well, this sucks, I'm not doing this. You know, like we all hear that. You know, it's like, well, this is no good for me, I'm gonna go back and sell Mary Kay.
That lead yelled at me. No, I'm done. Mental toughness,
mental
there's
health
something
awareness.
there's something tangible about it that you either have or you don't have, you know. And I really think that was my, like, yeah, I can talk, as many people who've watched or listened to the show, I can talk a lot, and that's beneficial. But I think the reason I hung around as long as I did is just because I could take the punch. I really could. And I was willing to get back after, like I said, I mean, you blank on your whole day. You spent a bunch of time and money to do it. You came home with nothing, and you got to literally wake up and do it again and not let it get to you. I mean, it's incredibly tough to do. You know, what Matt, question for you while we're on this topic, you know, have you ever had like maybe you've had an agent who's able to kind of flip things around? You've been able to help them become mentally tougher. Is there anything you would recommend if there's an agent listening or watching this and they're struggling?
I think mental toughness just comes with, you know, repetition. You know, as long as you're getting the proper training and everything else, I mean, getting tougher and you know, it comes with more confidence too. And then guess what? When you have a nice renewal stream coming in, hey, it's okay to get beat up a few times. I still got money coming in, right? You can, right. That particular agent, it doesn't matter as much, you know, but I understand when you're broke or just starting out or something, all of that matters. Every appointment matters. Every paycheck matters. And so, you know, everybody goes through that initial period where I mean, unless you have a spouse, you know, that's bringing in a nice, healthy paycheck, there's going to be rough times, and it might last for a lot longer than you think. You know, are you willing to stick it out? You know, there's a lot of people very talented that could have made it in the business, but they quit too soon. They didn't have the mental toughness needed. And there's people that scraped together everything they had and went to pawn their gun and pawn their basketball pole just to get enough money to get going. And the same things happened to them, but they're still in the business now because they decided that they were gonna make this happen. You know.
Yep. Good stuff, gentlemen.
Yeah.
We're hitting that hour mark, and you know, Matt, we want to be respectful of your time. So usually what we do at the end of the show every week is we kind of go through and give our final thought.
Christian, you said 3 hours. What do you mean we're at that mark?
We're a third of the way
3 hours.
So we're going to go until 9 Eastern Standard Time, everybody. So I hope you're enjoying this because we're not even close. Someone said support system is key. I think that's really true also. Support system at home.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, you know, and a support system in your work life is super important, but also in your personal life. I mean, I've seen people where the agent will come to us and their spouse is like anti everything. Why are you? My wife doesn't want me to buy leads. My wife doesn't, or my husband doesn't. My husband doesn't want me to be in this business, so I got to make this work. You know, if I'm not showing income in 1 month, So yes, whoever said that, I'm not. It just says Facebook user. I don't see any names on the comments. It just said I just see the comments. But that's 100% right. A support system is key. Again, in business and in your personal life, if possible. Yeah.
100%. Well, I know we could keep this going for 3 hours, but I don't want to torture you guys that much on this wonderful Tuesday. But anyway, I wanted to kind of go through and have us share some final thoughts. So Matt, I'll start with you. Like final thoughts on this episode. Anything you might want to leave the audience with? Of course, a lot of people will see the replay on this, whether it be on YouTube, on the podcast. So it'll reach a lot of people. So
you know here's what I'll say. I'll say what has happened to me personally, right? Because I can speak easier on things that I've personally gone through. And in my 16 years, I've quit this business so many times. And when I say I quit this business, it doesn't mean I quit it for good. Obviously, I'm here, right? But I quit mentally. I'd take 3 days. I'm done. I'm done with this business. 4 days off and just don't think about this business. But I always came back. Thank goodness, you know, and now I'm in a much better spot. There is going to be challenges. I don't care how good you think you are. I don't care how much you think you know. I don't care about any of that kind of stuff. You will have challenges in this business. This business will challenge you, push you, and kick you. And but just keep after it. And if you do need to quit for a few days. It's okay. Quit for a few days. Get away from everything. Definitely get off social media. You know, don't be involved with all that stuff. Put the blinders on. You know, those championship thoroughbred horses, sometimes they need blinders too. And focus on nothing. Focus on your family for a few days. Then get back after it. Refreshed mind. But don't ever quit, especially in the Medicare game. the only way to lose in the Medicare game is to quit.
100%. I love that. Glenn, final thoughts.
A lot of good stuff, Matt. I appreciate you coming on, man, and that we could talk. I feel like there is a lot.
Thank y'all for having me on. For sure.
No, absolutely. I think there's a lot more we could have talked about, but the one thing I want to say for final thoughts today, guys, that Matt said, that Christian and I have said many times on the show, is it only takes 350 Medicare clients to get to 6 figures in renewal income. Now, there is a catch to that. You might have to service your book. You might lose a few people here and there. But the reality is you can work probably 5 to 10 hours a week and have $100,000 hitting your checking account every year on 350 clients. And what Matt said was also true is you can generate 350 clients in literally 1 year. There's many agents out there doing exactly that. So the opportunity is huge. And there's more and more beneficiaries. There's this huge ramp of Medicare beneficiaries who need our help. So, it's a total win-win. I just think the opportunity is huge. I just want to make sure everyone really understands it. That's my final thoughts for today, you guys.
Well, I love it. My final thoughts, guys. I'll reiterate what Glenn said. Matt, thank you for coming on. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, buddy.
This was a great episode, so we'll have to do a part 2, maybe after AEP or something.
Just do it.
Yeah,
I really enjoyed it. So much good stuff, guys. I've said this on a lot of episodes, and I hope you don't just get numb to me saying it. But if you guys watched all the way to the end, go back and watch the replay of this a second time, because I'm sure there's things that you'll pick up the second time around that maybe you missed the first time, because there's a lot of nuggets that were shared, a lot of good information. And yeah, guys, I would say, one thing that I think is really valuable that Matt, you said, I think, is if you guys are hitting a point where you're just feeling like quitting, give yourself a couple of days. I do think that's very, very important. Yes. We've all had times like that in our careers where we've had to just step away, shut everything off, and just kind of let your brain reboot a little bit, because it can be a lot, especially when you're first starting out. Because when you first start out as an agent, you are the CEO, your customer service, you're the sales person, you are the CFO, right? You're managing your books, you're doing everything. You're wearing a lot of different hats, and it can be very stressful. You might have bills to pay, so don't be afraid to just let yourself mentally recharge. But I do 100% agree with what was said. If you quit, if you fail in this business, in the Medicare business in particular, it's because you quit, because it's so lucrative. There's so much opportunity out there. And really, truth be told, as many agents as there are out there, I still believe it's an underserviced niche, because there's so many people on Medicare. It's craziness. So I'll leave it there.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Thank you, guys.
Hey, Matt, if someone wanted to get a hold of you, or they had a question for you, what's the best way that they could do that?
My cell phone. I don't know how y'all know.
Shout it out.
Out there. I invite. Your call, man.
It's your room. You tell me the rules.
Whatever
you want to share.
Okay. 281-536-4220. That's the easiest way to get hold of me. That's the easiest way.
That's awesome.
But thank you, guys. I appreciate y'all having me on. I've been watching your show, so it's cool to be on here. I wish I would have gotten a better background. I'm in my nice rental house. I should have put something cool back there. I don't know, like
the insurance squad. I don't know, something cool.
Like a taco.
Where's your insurance squad?
Like a taco background. Yeah, I could. If I would have had. Yeah, I should have done that next time. Part 2.
Part two.
Right. That's right. Well, we'll definitely make it happen, because this was a great episode. Well, guys, thank you for watching. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Happy Thanksgiving. Woohoo.
And
I'll get that.
We'll be back next Tuesday. So
Christian, congrats on the house, buddy.
Oh, thanks, man. I appreciate that. We close the closing date, December 7th.
Good for you.
I told them I was like, you couldn't do it a day later.
Right? No, that's you need to be off by that point.
Yeah. Well, very true.
Good. All right, guys. It's been a pleasure. Thank y'all.
All right. Thanks, everybody. We'll be back next week.
Have a happy Thanksgiving.